Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm John Pratt, head of success as well as strategist here at Content at Scale. This is fourth in my four-part series right here on our channel. And the goal of this series is to bring you inspiration, motivation from guests that help you think in a totally new way about AI, about content, and about how to leverage the latest tech to really grow your business. So each of these guests in my four-part series is taking the stage at Content Hacker Live. John, what is Content Hacker Live? It's our event in Austin this March, and a live, in real life event physically there in Austin at a cool venue. So for more on Content Hacker Live, check out contenthacker.com/event. That's contenthacker.com/event. So today, you're here to learn specifically about how to build an AI consulting business and personal brand success secrets. So it really is my pleasure to introduce a man who's helping businesses leverage AI properly, right? Consultant, trainer, and speaker who knows the full potential of AI. So the man himself, Jordache Johnson. How are you?
Oh, John, what's going on, bud? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, man. Appreciate it. How you been? I know this is the first time we've actually talked face to face.
Yeah. No, it's always good to put a face to the name and over text. So I'm definitely excited to be here today. Super excited for Content Hacking Live here in about 2 months or so. But yeah, I love Julie, love what you guys are building over here. So I know you guys have a rock star community as well. So definitely humbled and honored to be here to chat with you guys today.
So awesome. Glad to have you. How did you first, because I honestly don't know, how did you first meet or learn about Julia?
I've
community?
been in the game long enough where I've learned that it's the key to this is having a solid network and relationships. And Julie was actually introduced by a mutual friend of ours. I actually kind of knew of Julie just being in the online marketing space, the content space, etc. But that's how we got introduced. And I'll tell you, I look back on my career over the last decade plus in this online space, and every inflection point you can always pin back to a relationship, a person, an introduction, somebody that gets you connected with somebody. So that's why I truly value the human side of business, which is funny when we talk about AI. But on the flip side, we got connected by a mutual friend.
You're deep into the AI space and you fully realize the human element is like really what's
100%.
driving
You're never
this.
going to lose that ever. Anybody who says otherwise is either trying to sell you something or they don't know what they're talking about. So
And they're scared, they're trying to drag you down, maybe like unconsciously drag other people down to where they are. Cause honestly, like freelance writers, a lot of other writers, a lot of just people in general, they're sort of freaked out. Like AI, what's going to happen? More so last year, probably. Now they're more comfortable. Do you see that? Like,
yeah, 100%. And I wasn't alive at this time, but I feel like it's the same situation where what math teachers thought when they, saw a calculator come out, right? It's a powerful tool that, is going to quote unquote take the job. But, when you actually peel back those fear layers, I call those, those headlines, those clickbait things that people want to put out there. And when you truly understand, the power of this, because you start seeing how it's an add-on value, and I call it like a superpower that you're going to be able to have. Because at the end of the day, if you have a solid skill set, whether you're a copywriter, content creator, etc., one thing that it's not going to replace anytime soon is the strategic side of things, the human side of things, etc. And what it's going to allow you to do is, I was literally talking, I was down in Miami just over this past week and speaking. And I always joke around, but I'm like, I'm a Marvel fan, you know what I'm saying? Or a DC fan. And I'm like, whether I'm talking about Batman or Iron Man or whatever, it's just like my Batman utility belt, right? Like, it's just like, I have my skill sets, but this just amplifies what I'm able to do or what I'm able to spend more time on, right? And that's another aspect of it where it can reduce the amount of mundane work or tedious work or thing that I should not be spending my superpower brain on versus something else. So that's where it's just, you gotta, for me, it comes down to people just truly not understanding the value and how this works. They just look at the headlines that people want to, or media wants to put out there around, how AI is going to take over the world, or they watch too many Terminator movies and, got caught up in that type of things as well. So
that's a lot to unpack too. Like just the other day I was doing, I think the second of this 4-part series, and we were talking about how, look, AI offers this level of execution that now we can like free ourselves up from the boring stuff, a lot of the boring stuff, not all of it. know, and then inject, like spend more of that time. So we, you know, we work maybe 40 hours a week, maybe more. And it's like, look, I mean, you just like eliminated 20 of those hours with AI. It doesn't mean you're not going to work, because guess what? Your competition is using AI and working another 40 hours. You know what I mean? So it's like 60 hours. So like you can get more done.
Yes.
Specifically, like only what the humans can do. Right. Like I want to inject that in.
Well, and the other thing I'll add on top of this too is, you know, something I always explain to people is like, we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. Right. And what I mean by that is, if I'm a copywriter and I'm trying to write, you know, a specific hook, or if I'm trying to put, you know, content in a specific angle or whatever, the only thing that I can run my ideas off or brainstorm around is what I actually have experience on, or what I know about the skill sets. So when I have a tool where I can bounce off ideas, or I'm just experimenting there, and I'm like, and all of a sudden it gives me something like, you know what? I never thought about it that way. And it spurred something new from that. Like, that's the power of this outside of just the productivity, is it gives you another extension to basically brainstorm and get your mind opened up around new possibilities, right? So one of the two keywords I always talk about whenever I'm speaking around AI to entrepreneurs or content creators is curiosity and possibilities. And that's what this tool opens up a lot for, is if you are curious enough and you're open enough, it's going to unlock possibilities that you've never been able to think about, because you just haven't had experience in that, or you haven't experienced that from your, you know, within your day-to-day life or your business career. So, you know, that's really where I can start seeing people getting a little bit more excited and like let the guard down a little bit, like, oh, like it can, there's possibilities, not like, what is it going to take away from me, but what is it going to unlock for me, or what is it going to allow me to do in a way that I've maybe never even thought about to this point in time. So
I'm a new, I guess, for lack of a better word, convert to AI. So probably November.
Welcome to the AI church.
Thank you. Yeah, the AI church, church.ai. Someone's got to get that domain.
Right.
I started, and this is what you hear from everyone, right? I started playing around with Chat GPT, right?
Yep.
November 2022.
Yep.
Maybe it was actually December, so I'm like late to the game, right? Early December.
You were one of the first 5 million people in that first day, were you?
yeah, maybe like the 5 million and one, you know, and first person. But I spent like 6 hours on it that first day, and I'm like, what is this? What can I do? Because I first heard about it, like when I hear about some new thing, it's like, okay, cool. I'll hear about it later, and if I hear about it 6 more times, I'll take it seriously,
right?
You know. But I heard about it from like this is like late November. Heard about it from like 2 reputable like newsletters that I was in, that I just sort of get. I don't even know if I'm subscribed or someone tells me or whoever. But I knew, and I know I paid attention. You know, okay, this is serious. So I went and got I signed up.
Yep.
Started playing with it, and yeah, that first day I'm like, okay, 6 hours in, I like wrote a little like a journal about it. I'm like all in, right? And I'm like, okay, this is what I discovered, and you very quickly, at least I hope many people very quickly realize, look, I mean, you're not a slave to it. It is definitely a lever for you to pull, and you hit it on the head with the curiosity and possibilities, because how much of my day was spent trying to find information.
Yes.
Like forever. Google has this video from 3 years ago. So like pre-Chat GPT, I guess I should say pre-popularization of Chat GPT, where they talk about, and they get deep here. They go into like how King Louis the Fourth had like his curiosity was satiated only like 4 or 5 years after he would ask a question.
Right.
And then fast forward to all these other methods, and then fast forward to Google. Everyone in the world expects like 1 or 2 seconds, any question.
Yep.
And the thing is with ChatGPT, what I quickly realized, because I don't have as many Google tabs open anymore.
Right.
You know, I just ChatGPT, and it gives me sort of answers to the questions I didn't even know I was asking.
Yes.
Whereas Google didn't necessarily do that. I'd have to like iterate 15 times to even ask the right question.
Yes.
Where it would give me the answer, but I was like, it wouldn't give me the right question. ChatGPT, like stuff like that, gives me like this expedited what I really want, you know, what I don't even know that I want. It's like frees up that curiosity and possibilities majorly. Same thing is Julia, and she'll tell you this. She'll be the first to tell you this. She was like outspoken against AI for like a year solid publicly. Like probably longer, you know, in her private investigations of AI and what it's possible, you know, what it's capable of. And then she's like all in, right? January, December 2022, like same time I was playing with ChatGPT, and And she was already a mentor of mine by back then. And so I was following her, what she was saying, very, for lack of a better phrase, anti-AI. Maybe she'll even be aggressive enough to use that phrase to describe her back then. And I'm like, okay, it's just not ready yet. It's just not ready yet. AI is not ready for Showtime as far as like content creation for writers and stuff. Suddenly, she totally flips the script, and I follow her on social and everything. And I'm like, okay, I gotta pay attention to this because ChatGPT just hit me, and now content at scale hit. I gotta pay attention. So she got involved with content at scale. I got involved with content at scale. All that to say, you seem to have like a deeper, longer, richer history in AI. Like, when did that? How far does that go back?
That's a great question. It's it's funny when you say this because I feel like my career arc is kind of like it was tech, and then I realized it was like 9-10 years of marketing, and then next thing you know, I'm back on the tech side of things. And it's funny how this played out because I used to live in Austin, right? I know that's where kind of half alive is. I've been there. I spent about 9 years there. And, I ended up going to school for technology commercialization. I say all that. I got my master's at UT because I met two of my co-founders there, right? We had a startup at the time back in 2012, 2013 timeframe. And at that time, we were doing a lot of big data collection, analyzation, et cetera, for the restaurant industry and all that good stuff. So we had a great partnership with IBM. And at that time in IBM stage, we were blessed enough to be able to get accepted into their Watson beta program. So if you remember Watson, that was a supercomputer that basically built or beat the guy on Jeopardy and yada, yada, yada. It's about 2013 timeframe. And so when I started doing that, and when I started seeing, and this was more on the data analysis side, the big data side, et cetera, but there was a lot of machine learning and stuff built into this stuff. And I was like, holy crap. And it's funny, I was actually reflecting on this about, 6 or 8 months ago and just kind of back at that time. And where we're at now, there was discussions back then of where AI could go. And I say that because, this didn't just fall out the sky. I've had so many conversations with people that think like November 30th, 2022, the sky's open and ChatGPT just came out the sky out of nowhere. And people need to understand that, 1950 was when the first AI paper was written at that point in time because computers couldn't even remember anything. They could execute, but they couldn't remember anything. So I say this has been 7 decades in the making of where we're at right now. And there's and this is why I always talk about other emerging technologies because, in the early 2000s was when we got social media and cloud computing, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Those were some of the incubation technologies that we needed today to run these language learning models, these AI models in the cloud and with the computing power and the data that's needed to train these things. So I say that. So based about 2012, 2013 was kind of my first exposure into these technologies. Now, when it comes to generative AI, it was around I need to pinpoint this date. It was around, I'm a nerd, so I get in these, I call them the deep corners of the internet or on these forums when GPT 2.5 we're playing around and things like that. Nothing, and then there was Jasper was kind of the first one that kind of started getting some traction. And it was, I don't even remember what it was, Jarvis at the time before Disney slapped him and said, don't call him that. And so I say all these things because this is kind of it was just been experimenting. And I'm always tinkering with new things or seeing, as you were saying, when somebody tells me about something, they only got to tell me once. And I'm on my computer going deep in this stuff. Yeah. So I will say, around that 2018, 2019 was when I started really getting more involved in the generative AI side of things as well. And then obviously, as 2020 rolled around, 2021, and then, as we started hearing rumblings around this, open AI, what they were building with 3.5, that's when, I started getting in fairly deep into that space. Now, I will tell you, I ran my agent, I had an agency. We used to grow and scale launches, right? We did that for about 5 years, and I had an agency for that for about 4 years. And during that time, it was right, ChatGPT was coming on board, or just getting ready to get launched. And we were playing around with this stuff for some clients and things like that. But once I sold that agency and I was trying to figure out what was next, I'll be honest with you, I was quiet around this AI stuff for a while. And I'll tell you the reason why. And this, I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this just from a mindset standpoint. I was watching all these marketers come in running ads around AI powered this. Here's 1,000 GPT prompts that you need for this. And I'm just like, money grab, money grab, money grab, money grab. I'm looking, I'm like, you guys have no idea how this technology works or the value of this technology, et cetera. And I'm like, I'm not going to be, I don't want to be associated with this. I don't want to be lumped in with these people. I'm just going to be over here using AI in my own little space, etc. Then finally, I had enough people in my group, in my network, speak to me. They're like, Jordache, you need to be talking about this stuff, because a lot of these people don't know what they're speaking about. So I finally came out of my AI shell, publicly, around that end of 2022, beginning of 2023 timeframe. And then that's kind of when I really just, jump, I was already 2 feet in. I'm thighs deep at this point in time.
Yeah.
In this space now. And that's, and I embrace all that, because, I look at this now and I can see, whether I'm speaking on stage at an event, whether I'm going into groups, doing community events like this, or, in my programs, my membership, whatever, when I can start seeing how many people I personally can impact with this stuff and, or convert them. I'll tell you one thing, whenever I give my talks, one of the first questions I usually ask is, who hates AI? And I'm like, by the end of my talk, my job right now is to convert you to at least start experimenting with this. And that's like always my goal. How can I get one more person to accept that this technology is not scary? It is actually a benefit to you. It is not as intimidating as you may seem, especially once you get over the learning curve. And so that's really, where I come, where my my vision, my mission is from where I'm at right now, is how can I get more people on this? Because I truly, from my years in tech, I truly understand how powerful technology can be, or how big of a detriment it can be to a business if you don't jump in and start learning this. And we've never, to be honest with you, we haven't seen a technology this powerful for business owners, for content creators, for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, etc., that can impact almost every aspect of your business if you choose in a positive way to amplify what you're already doing or amplify your impact. But on the flip side, it's if you're not embracing this right now, as fast as this industry is moving, as fast as this technology is being launched and adopted, that learning curve gets steeper and steeper and steeper by the day. And pretty soon you're going to be trying to play catch up, and we're going to be on GPT-6 at the time. And you're going to be like, holy crap, or 5 at the time. And you're going to be like, now I got a multimodal thing that can do images, videos. It can smell, it can touch, it can, I'm just joking. But like, it's going to be a lot more overwhelming if you don't have foundational principles to understand how this technology works. How do these language learning models respond? How do I start actually embracing what it can actually do? And then you're going to be able to move a lot faster with this. So that's where, I always tell people, you can't stick your head in the sand with this, because it's not going anywhere. The genie's out the bottle, right? And it's going to be a part of our lives for decades to come. And we just need to understand that and accept that, and understand how it can be used for the good.
I think there's going to be those laggards in terms of like the adoption
100%.
curve, and they're going to be like, they're just going to use it because they're forced to use it. Like they say, rotary phones went out, and they only use smartphones because there's no more rotary phone. You can't go buy one. Right.
Well, if you look at what Samsung just announced, was it last week or the week before? Their S24 Android. I'm an iPhone guy, but I'm probably going to buy this phone just for a play phone. I told my wife, hey, if I come home with 2 phones, I'm not cheating on you, and I'm not a drug dealer. I'm playing around with this stuff.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, is because they partner with Google. They've integrated generative AI into that. Right now, when all of a sudden, like, one of the things that's one of the coolest features that I'm like, this is amazing, is if you're speaking Spanish and I'm an English native speaker, I'm talking to you on the phone, it's going to do a live translation while we're having a conversation in our native tongue. So like, the thing is, and we know as those laggards, start coming on board, they're not even going to realize they're using AI, right? And to be honest with you, we've been using AI for 5-10 years, and we haven't even realized it yet. Now, generative AI is a different beast, but I say all that because you're 100% right. They're going to be forced to use this, and then pretty soon they're going to be playing catch up, and or if they're ever going to get caught up. Versus if you're a business owner, if you're a content creator, you can take advantage of this stuff now to once again just amplify the impact, amplify whatever you're trying to do right now. It's going to give you a better result. And on top of that, as this technology advances, we're going to be able to offer our customers, our members, our people in our community different customer experiences that we've never been able to offer them before, right? And that's when we really start merging different emerging technologies. Like I said, whether it's, and I won't go deep in this, but blockchain, mixed reality, AR, VR, all that stuff, like that stuff's not going away. And AI is going to be a linchpin between a lot of this stuff to be able to start basically truly changing how we interact with our customers in our day-to-day life. So
yeah, online, like the people, like you said, we're using AI whether we know it or not. Like
Yeah.
how many SaaS programs are out there? They've integrated, summarize this meeting, boom.
Yep. Yep.
Transcribe my thing, boom. Email this thing automatically, boom. Like it's already there. It's already fairly native to their products, and we're using it. Even we're using it without really necessarily knowing. Of course, we know what it's doing, but we don't have to like know the under the hood.
No, and that's why I always look at there's like two buckets, right? And if I look at it on a high level with what's happening right now, you got the AI focused businesses, the open AIs of the world, the Anthropics of the world, or even the big tech companies that are, obviously very focused on this. But then you have the tools that we're already using, the Canvas of the world, right? The Adobes of the world. They're just integrating that into their product suite. And that's where you're going to be using this one way or the other, right? It's just, once again, both of them offer different value props and workflows and what you're already doing. But the reality is it's not going anywhere. It's going to be in the tools you love that you're comfortable with right now. And you can't be intimidated when you see the word AI, or because that's obviously the buzzword of the next 2 years of powered by AI or AI this, right? And it's great. But like, you don't turn a blind eye to that, or be, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm not a techie. I'm not this. And it's only gonna amplify what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve with your business and the impact you're trying to make. So
I can't remember if it was you mentioned Adobe. I can't remember if it was them or somebody else who, or maybe a group of companies, bigger companies, who came in and said, "Hey, this is like dangerous," or "Be careful with this," or maybe it was like a bunch of signatories on one letter or something beginning of last year.
Yep.
And but right when that letter, or right when I found out that news, I'm like, okay, how many of these these people who signed this document are actually stopping anything? Like, they're developing stuff.
No, 100%. And that was, if we're talking about the same thing, Elon signed it, and he's like, "Oh, you guys, everybody needs to pause the development of language learning model for 6 months." And you're like, why? And then you start looking at it. I'm like, okay, because you guys are trying to play catch up right now
because they're slow on the trigger.
They're trying, yeah, right. And now on the flip side, you have OpenAI that is trying to put in place, well, we need to put regulations or a certain number of licenses that can only develop powerful models. Well, of course, because you guys have the most powerful model out there right now, right? So there's a lot of politics in business, when it comes down to this. Now, don't get it twisted. There are definitely risks with this technology, and I'm glad we're having these conversations now. But I also equate it to, social media when it started in the early 2000s. I firmly believe it was not created for harm. Right. But on the flip side, over the last 2 decades, we see a lot of the harm that social media can cause, right? From mental side of things, cyberbullying, all this other stuff. So, of course, there's a dark side of technology. There always is in almost every new technology. You look at iPhone, right? Now, the dark side of that is we're addicted to our phones and we want to click on a device, or my 3-year-old son already knows how to swipe a phone. And I'm like, dude, you're not even 3 yet. How the heck do you know this stuff, right? So, of course, there's a dark side of that. And I'm glad there's a lot smarter people than me and dealing in the deep research labs and understanding all this other stuff, especially as we start moving to AGI and all the good stuff. But like, embrace what you have right now. You can't worry about other stuff. That stuff's like, you have no control over that. So I always say, like, yes, there's risk, but like, what am I going to, like, I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to come stop these models being developed. But in the meantime, I'm going to hope that the people that are smart are putting the right things in place. But in the meantime, I'm going to leverage this technology to go along my day-to-day life and try to impact as many people as I can through, my products and my services and my content. So
I think that's what a lot of people are working to do, is like bring it into their day-to-day life, make it make sense for them and use it. And you used the word earlier, amplify, like, yep. and OpenAI will tell you this too. It's like AI won't, change who you are or innately. It'll just like make it, I think I mentioned this on the last of this series as well. It'll just like amplify who you are. It'll just make it easier or faster to do what you were going to do anyway. And so, yeah, these people who have maybe ill will, like, yeah, they're going to use it. But guess what? You have it too. So,
right.
So like, it's like this baseline that's established. It's this new zero, right? Everyone has this tool. Yes. And it's sort of a tumultuous time, like transitioning from nobody has it to everybody has it. A very uncertain time for a lot of folks. But yeah, once we establish that baseline, it'll be like, oh, like it's a typewriter, it's a computer. Everybody has this, like,
right. And you look at, I was around. I remember when there was, in the early or late 90s, early 2000s. Oh, you don't need a website. Why you need to be on the internet, right? Like, you don't need you don't need a social media account. Why you do that? And I was giving my talk over the weekend, and I was like, don't you wish, as a content creator, don't you wish you were on YouTube in 2005? Don't you wish you started on TikTok in 2016? Yeah, you may be like, well, how am I going to, this isn't going to add value to my business right away. This isn't going to bring in revenue right away. No, it may not, depending on how you're using it, what workflows you're using it in. But once again, it's not going anywhere. And the sooner you get started with that, the sooner you're going to start seeing those possibilities of like, well, I wonder if it can do that now. Oh, I wonder if I could do this with this now. Oh, but if you sit on the sidelines, you're like, oh, it doesn't work for me. Oh, it's gonna. I'm a purist. I'm a writer. I don't need the AI. And like, okay, well, no, but like, you look at some of the best movie producers out there. You act like they don't watch movies, right? Or they don't like. So it's just like that. There's an ego at play, right? And I was giving a talk in Orlando back in November, and they had some live artists like actually doing a painting on like near the stage as I was giving my talk. And obviously, we were talking about AI and all this other stuff. And it's funny because I was like, after I talked, I was chatting with them. They're like, well, we were like, we're never using AI. Like, we're artists. Like, we paint, we create. We don't need to use this. But when I was explaining some of the use cases specifically underneath the generative AI bucket of, of image, they're like, well, let me ask you this, Jordache. Like, can I just, if I'm thinking of a painting right now, can I just put words in there and it can give me like ideas of that? I'm like 100%. I was like, it gives you inspiration. So instead of you wasting time trying to, come up with some inspiration on a painting, play with Dolly, play with Midjourney, just start getting inspired with colors or shapes or styles, and then take that and then you go paint your painting at that point in time. It's a free brainstorming tool at that point in time. That's going to open your mind up to some things that you may never even thought about or been able to conceive. And then you're going to be able to go create even more amazing art. And did AI create that? No, but it inspired you. It gave you the access to be able to go combine that with your artistic ability to go create something even you probably wouldn't have been able to create without it.
Like in school, it's important. Let's say you're going to an art school or something. Yeah, it's important to get the reps in, right?
100%.
Spend some canvases, right? Get it over, make a mess, But then like once you're like doing this for the fun of it or for a business, like, look, I mean, if AI can help you skip that iterative ideation phase,
yes,
that you would otherwise do manually, hey, take it.
Take it. 100%. I use it. And I mean, even outside of business, I use it brainstorm ideas or these things that I'm thinking about, or like if we're in the process of remodeling our backyard and or our landscape and stuff. So it's just like just getting ideas of like, what do I want to do? I'm just literally just having a conversation and it's just sparking, ideas in my head that I'm like, oh, that's actually a good idea. Let me go do some more research on that way or whatever it may be. So it's like, I always tell people like, yes, I use it for my business a lot, right? But on the flip side, I use it in my day-to-day life a lot too, just to be able to say, I'm trying to say it like this. Let me just brain dump whatever I want in fragmented sentences, not complete sentences, words that don't make sense, just truly brain dump in this and help me organize my thoughts, help me organize my day, help me organize what I'm trying to communicate. It makes me a better communicator because I can just say things in a more effective or efficient way than if I'm just sitting here trying to spin my wheel and trying to figure out how to communicate something to somebody as well. So
there's times I'm writing an email or maybe a Slack message or a text or something where I do that exact same thing. And how many times, I don't know, how many times have I told, AI to be like, make this make sense, or make this succinct,
Right. Well, you know what? I was like, hey, here's what I'm trying to, and I won't go into the specific use case, but it was like, here's what I'm trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to even start. And that was it. Right. And then it was like, oh, do this. I'm like, okay, well, I like 2, I like 4. I'm like this. Okay, let me just go down even deeper. Right. And that's all I was telling people like AI's. I don't think there's been one situation where I've put one prompt in and it gave me exactly what I wanted out of one, out of the exact thing. Like it's never you're playing tennis against a brick wall and like I hit it once and it comes right back to me. No, like I hit it and it's going to bring something back and I hit it back again and I'm going to bring like I'm volleying the ball back and forth. And then it's just like, even like if I'm writing an email, I'll go back and forth multiple times. And then eventually I'm like, I like it like I said that, or I changed the tone on that, or I changed the style on that, or I did all that stuff. And I'm Frankensteining this message on the side of me. Then I'm like, cool, here's a lot of the good pieces I like. Come back and help me make sense of this. Help make this more clear, or put this more concise or whatever like that. And then eventually I'm going to come back and put my human touch on it. And then I got something written and that would probably take me 2 hours in 15 minutes. Right. So it's just like goes back to what you were saying. Why should I spend the time? I got a whole bunch of other things to do besides spending my time on and getting the same outcome that I wanted to get regardless of it as well.
We have a lot of writers in our community. And so when you said like put the human touch on it, it brought to mind Content at Scale. Of course, I work for Content at Scale. And so I'm in this tool every day. And it's like, how And I see freelance writers, by the way, a lot of freelance writers out there are avoiding AI. They still don't use it. Like particularly freelance. So agency, yeah, they're getting on board. Large scale publishers, they're definitely on board.
Right.
But these freelance, there's this like unspoken sentiment where, I have to give it the human touch. It has to be this Mona Lisa of content before I can publish it.
Yep.
Do you see that in big business? Like this, who, I guess the question is, you mentioned people still hate AI. That's what you ask them when you speak. Who still hates AI?
Honestly, it's across the board, to be honest with you. I ask them, I'm like, well, right after I raise hand, I'm like, all right, what do you do? What's your business about? And I've seen big business, I've seen marketing, like leaders in marketing organizations down to a freelancer, right? And usually what it comes down to this is there's two things typically. One, and I'm gonna call a spade. It's ego. Right. And it's ego to the point where, and this is something we face as you're starting a business, as a solo entrepreneur. If you're trying to scale up, you feel like you have to do everything for it to be valuable, right? You're tying your value into the output, right? Versus saying, if I remove myself from the equation, if I'm going to use a freelance writer and I have a client that I'm writing for, if the goal is not to say, Jordache wrote this versus what's the best outcome for my client and what's the best result that I want to get for my client, it doesn't matter who wrote it, right? Of course, I'm going to be involved with it, but it doesn't matter that if these words came all out of my head or if 80% come from AI and the 20% came from me. Because here's the thing, as a freelance writer, here's one thing that you're going to be always good at. You're actually going to know what's good copy. AI doesn't know what's good copy. Now, content at scale helps you tremendously, but at the end of the day, you don't know, like you have the foundational principles of copywriting, of hooks, of emotion, of tying things into that you're going to be able to say yes or no. Is that good or not for my client? Yes or no. But if I can get you, or a tool like this can get you 80% of the page written that you come in and clean up and create emotion, your client's paying you the same regardless of it. So why are you going to spend more of your time getting the same outcome? Because once again, it's not about who wrote it; it's about the results that it brings to the table, right? I'll give you another example. That I have somebody in my membership right now. He does Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and TikTok ads, right? Mm-hmm. And he used to have to pull tooth and nail for content from clients to give to him for A/B testing, etc., like that, both written and media. And all of a sudden, he started using Dolly, and I was giving him some tips on how to use Dolly, whatever. His campaigns increased between 42% and 58%. They dropped the lead costs with the AI images when he ran the test against the images that his clients gave him in Canva. And so my point is, you don't know the results that it's going to impact until you start testing it, right? Or until you start using it. And so when it comes to the people who hate AI, it's because they feel threatened or they have an ego associated with it. And they feel threatened because they don't know that it's actually a tool to amplify your skill set, your principles, all the reps, like you were saying with the artist, that put in as a copywriter or a writer, or you feel like you have to do, the only way that you can offer value to your client is if you do all the work. And we know that's one of the biggest myths in business at all, because the client doesn't care if you wrote it or if your dog wrote it. If it gets results, your clients are paying for results. They're not paying for you to actually write. And so that's typically what it's fear or ego is typically what I found that, why most people still hate AI. And it's an education problem. It's nothing to do with them. It's nothing personal. It's just they're just not educated on truly the value, and they haven't seen it for themselves. So that's why I'm always trying to spark curiosity in people and give people a small little taste of it. Because John, like you said, once you start playing with it, you're like, well, what else can it do?
Yeah.
Well, what else can it do? Oh, well, let me just try it. Like, let me see if it can write me different hooks. Let me just see if I can't get this hook quite right. Let me just brain dump some of the hook ideas I have and see what it comes up with, right? And now there's a lot of other principles and frameworks that I always preach around how to use generative AI to be able to get results that are more in line with you, your clients, all that good stuff. But like there's this tool is super powerful when you just start experimenting with it as well.
When you bring like AI into your processes, and you write that email, for example, you go back and forth, you get the best way to convey something, right? It's like AI can't do that whole task holistically. Like it can't do that, but it can cut like 40% of the process, like pretty dang easily. Cause it's just like time spent going like this, staring at the wall, thinking, like,
Yeah.
hey, what if I don't want to do that? What if I don't want to spend,
Yes.
half an hour, staring at the wall thinking, when I could get AI to run through those really logical steps for me and be part of that solution.
100%. And and I do a lot of consulting with the kind of three groups of people when it comes to businesses. Is either the business leaders to help them. I joke around, but I'm like, I help them decide how to decide to implement AI or,
Yeah.
or overarching AI strategy, right? But then it usually comes down to the marketing team or marketing leaders, and then the sales team and sales leaders, right? Look, those are the kind of the three groups that I work with, and it's always like there always has to be a starting point, right? And the easiest way I always find this, and this kind of goes back into the title of this, is like starting an
Yeah.
AI consulting business, etc. Is you have to find those small wins for people, right? Because if you can get people just to say, well, use this tool, and then let's just go see what happens. Just with this to get you a small immediate win, because then it just builds that confidence. Like, oh, well, it's not as scary. Oh, I can actually do this. Oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Oh, this is actually easier. Oh, it actually gives me good results. Well, let me try a little bit more, right? And it's just that I kind of call it the Trojan horse. It's like I got to give you some. I got to give you some chocolate, because I know you like chocolate, but I'm going to give you the broccoli once you start eating that chocolate a little bit. It's stuff you actually need, but we have to get you started in a way to start seeing some small results. So whether it's just that email, or writing the closing paragraph in an article, or coming up with different titles, or using tools like Content at Scale, or whatever it may be, you just got to start something small, and then you're going to start seeing. And I always tell people, like, you can't AI-fy your business. I joke around with it all the time. Like, you're not going to do that overnight. So it's just like, what's one small thing that I can focus on this week to see what happens, or this month? And then we can build step by step onto that. It's not going anywhere. Don't be in a rush. As long as you're trying something today, you're better today than you were yesterday. And that's the key. It's like, there's not a rush to do. It's just about consistently figuring out, how can I start integrating this tool or this technology into my business, into my workflows, into my processes? Because there's always that point in time you see the twinkle in their eye, right? It's like, I get it. Holy crap. And then then their mind just opens up to like, well, what else? And then that's when you got to kind of bring them back in and say, all right, stay focused. Like, there's 15,000 tools out there. You don't need all those. And that's when we kind of move into that next evolution of, not being from fear and ego to, holy crap, now from a distraction problem. And that's when you kind of move into that next phase of onboarding or integrating stuff into people's businesses.
Total opposite problems, right? Like,
right.
in pretty small time frame, right? Because once you convert them, it's like, because once you mentioned the Trojan horse, right? Give them, like, I think of some old Disney movie. What's that Disney movie? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Like, just give it to them. But then if they really love that sugar, you got to like contain their excitement after that, right?
100%.
They could go a million directions. What does that look like when you help organizations? This is a very specific question I had like yesterday. I wrote it down. How do you help organizations leverage generative AI for business like growth and innovation?
Yeah. Great question. And, like I said, I kind of focus on those three areas. So I'll kind of, obviously I know there's a lot of marketers and sales or whatever. Every business has sales, but like typically what I always do is, and this kind of goes back to what I was just saying with the small wins, because I literally had probably 3 questions in the crowd over the weekend of like, well, what all can AI do for my business? And I'm like, what does your business do? Walk me through some of your processes. Walk me through this, because my job I always look at in the beginning is, I know the possibilities. Your business. Help me. I will help you bridge where we can start focusing on, right? So it depends on what they want to do, right? So if it's a company that creates a lot of content, both written or let's say podcasts, well, let's start looking at those workflows and let's start figuring out where can it speed up or give you guys more ammo in those specific areas. So we start figuring out, I always try to find those specific use cases in existing workflows. My job's not coming here to create new workflows for you. That's not my job. That's a whole another behavior change. That's a whole nother change. So my job is to say, okay, what's going wrong right now? What's working well for you right now? What are things that that are solid? Well, how can we make those better? Right? That's the key, is how can we make those even better or amplify those results? So that's really, I spend a lot of, if somebody brings me in on a consulting engagement, I'll spend the first, 20-25% of that engagement understanding the processes, understanding the workflows, talking to the end users, figuring out where they're working at, et cetera. From there, then we start prioritizing, hey, here's a use case. Here's another use case. Here's another use case. What use case would you like to work on first? Right. And then because it goes back to those quick wins. Because if I can get you a use case in your business with a process or system that we already know works, and we can speed it up or give you more results depending on what it is, now I got you sold. Now we start looking at other things. So when it comes to those, like it's content creation, it's internal communication, it's testing if they're running paid ads. It gives them a lot more collateral to be able to test. It's about improving, speed, whether, like I said, I do a lot of especially a lot of the companies I work with either have some form of a podcast, whether internal, external. So just that whole workflow of podcasting, whether it's from ideation to creation to post-production, can be sped up with a lot of tools that are leveraging AI right now as well. But, on top of that, and if we move over to the sales side of things, it's prospecting to having communication that's actually tied and directly attributed to that person to be able to make it more personable. It's to be able to lead sourcing. So there's literally, I haven't found a process yet, knock on wood, or workflow yet, that there isn't something that we can start integrating into that yet. And that's when I tell people it does AI can do a lot. I can't sit here and tell you all the different things they can do. It's not like a SaaS tool where here's the features and here's all the features they can do. No, it's an endless list of features and benefits. So we gotta flip that around and say, well, what are you working on right now? Let's start integrating this into existing things. Once we get some wins on the existing side of things, then we can start thinking about what are the possibilities and what are some new things that we can bring into your business with some of this technology or with some of these with tools as well. And so that's always the approach I take with most of my clients right now, because it's the one that I found that gets those quick wins, gets results, builds confidence, gets sign off from, the executive team when they start seeing, more results, because it's usually dollars or time, right? Can I make you more money, save you more money, or save you more time, which translates to dollars as well. And if we can show that the actual data to back that up, then we start looking at the results that it can produce from a consumer or revenue standpoint. And then from there, then they're like, well, how much money do you need from a budget standpoint in that department? Let's start pouring the money in and let's start integrating that even more. And so that's like a high level of typically what I'll do when I come into business. Now, when it comes to solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs, that's when I'm looking at more so of, whether it's their launches, whether it's their, like I said, their marketing side of things, and or product creation as well, especially with digital products. You can create amazing digital products, looking at additional products to add to your value stack, depending on once we start training on who you serve, how you serve, all that good stuff. So it really just depends on what kind of business is, as well as, what the size is and what the team looks like as well.
Those quick wins with big, businesses and big processes are, it's probably easier to bring AI to their existing processes. But with a smaller, like a solopreneur, are they more willing to just throw everything away and make totally new processes? Or do they like those little wins too?
They like the little wins. So I'm always judging where are they at on the awareness scale and comfort level of AI, right? Because if they're not very aware of it, or they've heard of it and they're like, oh, I know this ChatGPT, I just don't know how to use it, this doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, we're gonna start small, right? But if it's somebody that's been like, hey, I've been playing with this, we've done some stuff like this, so okay, if that's not working, we can bring something new in and start really developing that workflow or that process with this stuff as well. And I found they're a lot more adaptable to that than, the medium to larger organizations. And it makes sense, right? Because those medium to larger organizations, they have established processes. They have established workflows. They are proven. They are documented. They are in place. And they've invested a lot of resources to get to that place. So we're just trying to improve those, right? And I like those is because, once again, I don't gotta and that's why I don't come up those types of clients. I don't try to come up with new stuff for them, because it doesn't make sense, because then there's a big risk. Well, if the first initiative that their executive team or leadership team sees that happened and it flopped, well, they're going to be more anti-AI, because oh, it doesn't work for our business. It doesn't work for this, blah, blah, blah. It's a waste of time, waste of budget. Go spend your money elsewhere. Versus, no, let's take something proven. We remove the success of that workflow or that process out of the equation because we know it works. How do we have a benchmark? How do we beat that benchmark, whatever that is? Efficiency, dollars, time, whatever it may be. Now, so many of those solopreneurs, there's a little bit more flexibility with, those workflows and things like that as well, or they may not have those in place. So we're like, all right, well, if you don't have this in place, let's go create something. And we don't have a benchmark to work off of at that point in time.
So those big businesses, when they change 1,000 factors at once, there's no way they're going to drop the ball.
100%. That's typical A/B testing too, right? You don't A/B test five 5 variables. I change one variable so I can truly attribute any change, good or bad, to that one variable. That's all we're trying to do here. And this is, and this is comes back to it, because I had somebody ask me over the weekend, like, well, how'd you start consulting, or how'd you start your consulting agency? Well, I didn't just be like, I love AI, so I'm going to go start promoting and selling AI services.
Yeah.
I have a lot of experience when it comes to business growth and marketing and things like that. That I'm just like, I bring that knowledge with me, and then I'm like, now I understand this technology very, very well, and I'm marry the two together, because it's like, I always equivalent of, like, if I was it's like somebody who's like, I'm a funnel builder. Well, great, but you don't know anything about copywriting. You don't know anything about lead acquisition. You don't know everything about acquisition. So it's like that company's have to go hire 3 or 4 other people to be able to bring in that full scope or that full ecosystem of what they're trying to achieve, which is sell more products, right? And so that's why I always say, like, if you're thinking about starting an AI agency, there's a 1,000 people that know, 1 million people, that know how to use ChatGPT, right? So it's like, what's going to set you apart? What's going to be something of value that you can bring? It's not just, I know how to use ChatGPT, right? I know how to do that, but it's how can I actually integrate that, understand how I can bring additional value to using this technology? Because here's the honest truth. AI got a lot of buzz, but at the end of the day, no one really cares about AI. It's like me saying, oh, I'm a Zoom expert. Well, no, you just use that tool. Right. Like, so like that's what you always have to understand, of like, this is the tool I use to achieve a goal. And I use this technology to achieve goals or to bring results. But I just understand how to use that tool. I don't sit here and try to promote like I know how all this AI stuff. Well, yeah, I do, but I don't, because that's not my positioning. And that's not what businesses care about. They care about results. And that's where you got to figure out how to leverage this technology to get them better results. And that may require additional knowledge and skill sets around it as well.
Like core competencies, to run with what you said, like from like 2010 to 2020 was a huge change in like social media, right? Instagram was like, we get all these influencers, right? And we quickly learned, I say quickly, it probably took about 6 years before a lot of people learned, like, okay, let's distinguish between a very influential photographer, for example, and someone who just says, oh, I'm an influencer. What? It's like this empty like shell of a claim. Like, so it's the same with like AI. Like those people who are selling prompts in February, March 2023, it's like they've moved on to the next.
They've gone. They took their money. They're out.
Like, they're out, flash in the pan, if you can even say that, because it's only like a 2-month thing where I saw that, like right after I learned about ChatGPT, I'm like, oh, everyone's gonna like. People are gonna sell prompts, and then like the next week they started doing
100%.
And they're on to the next,
And that's a big myth. It's not about prompting. Yes, we do prompt, but there's like, and this is why in my program, this is why I always tell them, like, prompting's that's a task at hand. It's all about the context. It's all about the things that I'm going to provide. AI is dumb until I tell it what it needs to know about me, my business, my client, my products, my services, etc. So of course you're not going to get results that are in your voice or in your tone or whatever like that. Now there's tools like, COS, they're helping you achieve that in a more efficient fashion. But at the end of the day, prompts is the vanity measure. That's like me saying, oh, I got 1 million Instagram followers. Great. Can you sell and can you make any money with those million? Do you know how to sell? Do you know how to market? Do you know how to create products? No, if not, you just have a number. If you just know how to prompt, you're going to get some crappy results. Yes, it's going to give you results, but you're going to be one of these people on the sideline saying, well, it doesn't do what it needs to do. I've never got anything to sound like me. I've never got good results. It's crap results. Well, of course, because you're not understanding how to use the technology, understand the power you actually have at your fingertips.
Yeah, it doesn't. The biggest complaint, it doesn't make me a millionaire in 2 days.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's not supposed to. Like, it'll amplify who you are. And if you're not capable of stuff, 0 times 1 is 0.
Right, 100%. And I'll tell you right now, if it made people a millionaire in 2 days, you ain't paying $20 a month for it. I'll tell you that right now. You're probably not going to have access to it.
And how, those expectations just all over the place. I think one of the, excuse me, issues with CAS, I say issues, it was a good issue to have, was we're like attracting so many people who are new to content marketing.
Yeah.
And they didn't quite know, like, okay, how do I even though they have a robot doing it for them, they didn't quite know how to use that. And so that's why there was this happy merger with Content Hacker, where it's like where all the education is, right? And then you can apply that to your content marketing at scale, right? And it didn't even occur to me, by the way, that merger until it actually happened. I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I was so excited when I saw that come across, because you're 100% right. I mean, it's literally like giving somebody a hammer and they have no idea how to freaking hammer a nail. They have no idea how to even
Yeah.
cut wood. They have no idea what this hammer can do, right? And so it's like there is that education. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it was like, if you don't understand what you're trying to accomplish, if you don't have the skills, if you don't like, this tool is not going to solve it for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this tool, it only amplifies what you have. And if you don't have those skills, like you said, 0 times 1 is 0. Right. And so it's not here to solve those problems where it's going to try to give you a new skill set. It's here to amplify your skills that you already exist. Yes, it will open up new possibilities. Yes, you may acquire new skill sets as you get going with this stuff, but it's not like out the gate. You can't just expect that this tool is going to give you all of a sudden you're the most, proficient copywriter ever if you don't understand copywriting.
And it's so hard to see that in context. So like, I'm trying to think of a context where someone gave me a hammer and I have no idea what to do with it. And I guess if I lived in some sort of cave and someone gave me this wonderful gift as like a hammer,
right,
I would throw in the garbage. I already have a cave. I don't need this. I would throw it away. Yeah, I need a spear, something.
Right. I need to go kill. I need to, this isn't going to help me get food. Right?
Yeah, like what is it?
I can't kill anything with it. It's like, what is this going to 100%? That's a great analogy.
So it's like we have to teach them, right? Like, well, you could build a house. you could leave the cave,
Here's
improve your life. You can live anywhere. Yeah.
Right. And that's, going back to your original or one of your questions a little bit ago of like, how do I work a business? Like there's 2 buckets people have to overcome. They have to understand the possibilities this tool has, right? And I don't need you to understand all the possibilities, just some that are closely as tied to your business or your workflows as possible.
Yeah.
But then it's not just understanding those. You got to experiment with those. And you were saying this earlier of like, you're going to suck at it in the beginning, period. This is a new tool you're going to use. It's new skills you are adding on top of your existing. You're going to suck. But if you just get through that initial phase of like, I come in here with no expectations. I'm coming here just being curious with this. I'm just coming to see nobody needs to see what you create in content and skill. No one sees what you create in ChatGPT or Claude. No one has to see it. But if you just play with it and experiment, when you combine experimentation with possibilities, that's when you start understanding. And I'm not going to say master this tool, but you're going to be able to be proficient with this tool to start getting some amazing results.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask about the future of AI in business. So for those who already, and then I'll get into some questions because I know our audience has a ton of questions. Like for those businesses, big and small, who are already all in on AI, what do they need to prepare for now so that they remain like on top of it?
100%. So I'm going to go far out and then we're going to come back to the short term here. And when I say far out, that may be 12 to 18 months and maybe 24. Like this space moves very, very, I'm not talking decades down the line. So obviously the holy grail in this AI industry, and that's, Zuckerberg just came out about 4 weeks or 4 days ago, did a reel on this, and it's built into OpenAI's charter, right? It's AGI, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Artificial general intelligence. That is where everybody is building to right now. But the funny thing is, no one knows how to explain it. No one knows if we're going to get, when we get there, how we're going to get there, and how we're going to identify it yet. But that is the theory right now in all these research labs right now, which is basically getting AI to a level where it is a lot more human-like. I'm just going to keep it very, very simple, right? But because right now, if you think about it, right, if I ask ChatGPT or if I ask Claude, if I'm prompting these tools right now, it gives me results, but it can't actually execute on any of these results. Me as a human still need to go execute on those results right now, right? And so like that is where we're going to get to, and that's where, because really all that means is right now these AI models, the only thing it can give me results on, or it can predict technically, is what it's been trained on, right? Which is the training data, right? It's trained, these LLMs, language learning models are trained on billions of data points. When we come to AGI, it's going to start solving complex problems and start solving things that it wasn't even trained on, right? So it's self-learning at that point in time, right? That's when people start getting kind of freaked out when, these robots are going to take, like, we'll cross that bridge when we cross that bridge.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So if we understand that's where this whole industry is shooting for, that is the goal, that is their motivation. Now we start coming back towards, the present. One of the things, and it kind of started, the buzz started, I think it was March or April of last year. It's these things called AI agents, right? Yeah. And that's the next evolution of these chatbots that we're working with right now, right? These chatbots and when I say chatbots, the the ChatGPTs, the Bards of the world, the Anthropics or the Claudes of the world, all that good stuff. They're chatbots right now. Now, what, like I mentioned before, it is the point of it can give me amazing results back based off the prompts I give it, but it can't execute it on anything. And what these AI agents are going to go, and we're not there yet. There's probably I think there's probably 15, 20 companies that I'm aware of that are, positioning themselves to these AI agents. But it's kind of the next evolution towards this AGI, where it's like, okay, now it can actually go execute on the things that I'm talking about. So let me give you an example right here, and I'll give you a non-business example, then we'll tie it back to business. If I'm trying to plan an itinerary for a trip for my family, I have my wife and I have my young son. He's 2.5, but he'll be 3 here in March. And I'm saying I want to go to Rome. I can use ChatGPT, Claude, etc. to say, hey, here's the age of my wife, myself, my son. Here's some of the things we like to do. Help me identify some places to go in Rome. Or here's the types of cuisine that I want to experience when I'm in Rome. Give me a list of restaurants, etc. And it's going to give me all that stuff. And I can put it in my Notion tab, and then I can, go along with that. What AI agents are going to be able to do, not just share that information with me. They're going to be like, okay, if this is my budget, this is when I want to land in Rome. It's going to be able to go book an airline ticket for me to get in Rome by 10 a.m. It's going to be able to go make dinner reservations for me based off the time I'm done with one of my visits to the museum at 7:30 p.m. at this restaurant. So it's actually going to be able to go take those actions and execute for me, right? That's the next evolution, in my opinion, where it comes to AI. Now, how does that play into business? Now, mind you, I'm painting a picture of what the potential is. We're not there yet. So don't start asking me what tools are creating this, because we're not there yet there. But this is where we're progressing to this. So now let's say if I'm writing, or let me give you 2 examples. Let's say I have a membership and somebody needs to cancel my membership right now, right? What typically happens, they're going to write into support, or they're going to click their button, and then they're going to basically get a ticket, and I have to go in there and actually go cancel something with Stripe. An AI agent, now you could set up Zapier and all the other stuff. I know there's some automations you can set up. Don't get it twisted. But basically, what an AI agent could do in a very simplistic way is I could say, hey, John needs to cancel my membership. It's going to go into Stripe. It's going to cancel your membership. It's going to go into my database, grab your email. It's going to look at back what you already did, what you didn't do. It can automatically send an email on my behalf, and it can basically do that whole process for me without only thing me saying is, John needs to cancel. Here's why. Right? Or John needs to cancel. I want to offer him something else. It can basically take care of that whole process for me. Right? So another thing, I have some friends that run Facebook ads, right? Now you're going to be able to say, hey, here's all the information around my client, my biz, or their ICA, or their ideal client avatar, their products they sell, etc. Here's results of their past campaigns. Go create more campaigns for me based off this to get this result. It's going to be able to go create content. It's going to be able to go create the media. It's going to go set up the campaigns. It's going to do that. And that's not too far away, right? Google just started integrating generative AI tools into their Google ad tool suite right now. And this is the progress that they're going to do, because, and you think about the motivation from their perspective, if I can make it easier to run ads and I can get my clients better results with AI, they're going to spend more money with me.
They're going to stay. Yeah.
Right. And so now if I'm the business owner, how does that help me? Well, I may not need to spend as much money on somebody running my ads. Yes, I still want somebody that understands all this stuff, but we're not going to completely outsource it all. But at the same time, I'm going to get better results. I'm going to get better ROI for the dollars I'm investing in paid advertising. So like if you look at it from if I sum this all up, an AI agent is going to start automating some of your workflows and optimizing some of your workflows for you in business. So that's really where you need to understand how generative AI works now. Because when it starts doing things automatically, if you don't understand how this stuff works or how to tweak it or how to improve that, it's gonna be a tough learning curve for you at that point in time. So that's these AI agents is kind of the next evolution I see that we're gonna move beyond these just chatbots. Now, don't get it twisted. GPT-5 is about to be a powerhouse when it comes out, right? I just saw that Google with their Gemini. They have Gemini Ultra coming out, which they're claiming is going to surpass GPT-4. So like there's still going to be huge power in these existing language learning models, but we're going to start seeing them execute here, not just provide information.
That'll be like insane. Like that'll be like convenient. I'm thinking about Rome now.
Right.
Vacation.
Well, if you think about Airbnb, just acquired a startup back in. It was a stealth startup. I think it was November timeframe, maybe December. And it was from the creators of Siri, the guys that sold Siri to Apple. They had another stealth startup, and Airbnb acquired for like $200 some million. Why? because they're about to change the game on how you book travel, how you integrate with travel. And travel is a whole industry that's about to get truly disrupted with this technology. Like that's one, no doubt about it in my mind, that's going to be a lot of changes happening with that, right? And so you're 100% right. I have a buddy here. He's a CTO of a startup here in Austin, or excuse me, Austin. I'm in Houston, and they're doing enterprise AI. They have an enterprise AI platform right now, and what their goal is, they're working with agents. They're doing use cases right now with agencies. They're trying to basically get agencies to an 80 to 85% operating margin, because they can basically automate a lot of the stuff that you're doing from client fulfillment, et cetera. That as long as you can integrate your systems, your frameworks, et cetera, like that, there's going to be a lot of fulfillment on the client fulfillment side. And once again, as an agency owner, I would love that, because it's like, I can go spend more time with my clients. I can spend more time on the strategic side of things. I don't got to spend more time on my team. Doesn't have to spend time clicking buttons all the time. We can actually add more high level value to our clients instead of the operational value that we're operating right now as well. So,
and then we're free to go start another business, right? Help more people. Right.
That's when you spend your human capital, your mind power to go start spending on things that, when you can stay thinking at a high level, on a strategic level, not get too caught down in the operational level as a business leader, that's huge value, because you're going to be able, that your zone of genius is on the strategic side of things, whatever business you started, right? So instead of being so caught up on the operational side, that's where you can bring a team on, or bring in automations or AI agents or whatever it may be, because you're going to be able to have little experts. These agents can be experts. It can be a social media expert. It can be a copyright expert. It can be whatever it may be. And it's all trained around your processes, your frameworks, your how you're using generative AI now to get great results. You're going to be able to train these agents, and then it's going to pass the work off from one to the other, and it's going to get you amazing results. So I'm excited. And that's really where, I see us heading to here in the relatively short future.
That's what on Shark Tank, is it Damon John? He says, details. He doesn't care.
No, I don't care how you get the result. I just want the result. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. He can live up here mentally, right?
Yes.
To spend his energy up there.
Yes.
Excuse me. I want to get to a question here from a user. Have you found success? So it's a comment from YouTube. What tips would you give someone who just wants to go for it and doesn't know what the first step is? I believe we're talking in the context of starting a consulting business.
100%. So I will tell you this, and I ran an agency for about 9 years. And those first probably year and a half, 2 years, I was a glorified freelancer. And that's basically what it was. I was like, how do I get people results? I have some skills. What other skills I need to do? Like, how can I go get people results? So I'm always telling people, you have to be so result focused in those early stages when you're starting something. That's the name of the game. Because here's the thing, people pay for results, right? They don't care about credentials. They don't care about what you've studied in school. They don't care. Like, if I'm hiring someone for my agency, I'm like, I have a job. I have a result I want. Can you get that? Can you give me that result? I will pay you for that result. Yes. Great. So now tie that back to your question. I love the name. Have you found success? It's a good question to be asking. Is at the end of the day, it comes down to, can I get this person results, or who can I get results for? Or who can I be completely open with and say, hey, here's something I'm experimenting with. Would you be open for me to attempt to get you results like this? And that's where it can start. Like, don't oversell yourself if you're not comfortable with the results, because the more confident you are in the results you can get, the more money you're going to be able to charge clients, because that's, once again, they're paying you for results and consistent results. So when it comes to the AI side of things, this is what I was going back earlier, you don't even have to mention AI. Mm-hmm. I when I'm talking to clients, I try not to mention the word AI. When I'm on stage, sometimes I'm like, how do I just talk about this without saying AI? Because once again, AI is not getting me the result. AI is a tool that I use to get a result, or to get a more efficient or effective result. So if I'm trying to start an agency right now, what problems are they have? And I'm looking at them like, well, I'm pretty sure AI can solve 80% of that problem right there, and I can come in on the other 20%. Great. I'm going to come talk to that company like, hey, it looks like you want this result. I can get you this result. Let's figure out how we can work together. So that's really where, don't get so caught up on the AI side of things. Get more focused on the results. And then in the back of your mind, if you understand how this tool works, the possibilities, and you've experimented with this tool to get consistent results, and you can identify a problem that this company has, and I know that I can use, there's a tools in my toolkit that I can use to get that result. Well, now we're talking a business at that point in time.
Yeah.
So that's the key, is you focus on the problems. It's nothing sexy, but when you understand this and you've been around the AI space long enough, you know the power of it. So go figure out how you can solve some of these results faster or more effective, and you're good to go.
I think in a year, maybe two, the buzzword will be the buzz will come out of the word AI.
100%. It's just so new right now to so many people. And once again, you go back to that adoption curve. We're still in that early majority right now, right? We crossed the chasm when ChatGPT came on board. You know, the early adopters were the ones that were playing on the dark sides of the internet with it. But like once it became mainstream with ChatGPT, now we're still going up because it's like, holy crap, this is all new. And the way I noticed this is because I talked to my mom who's 65 years old. Mom, do you know? No, I'd heard about this. I don't know. Great. We're not there yet. But my mom has an iPhone. She's had 4 iPhones now. We're past that on the iPhone technology adoption curve, right? So it's like once you start looking at the people that probably are not in those buckets and you start asking questions, you know where we're at from an adoption standpoint. And we still have a long ways to go. And as this stuff consistently changes, like where we're at on that adoption curve kind of starts going back down because new things come out and people have to adapt to that. And so it's kind of bouncing back and forth, kind of where we're at right now. And it's like I said, this 12 month 2024, I think is going to be a big year when it comes to big tech. And what do I mean by that is last year, big tech got caught with their pants down, right? Obviously, Google's been in the space for 20 years, et cetera, but they were not focused on generative AI. Amazon was going to launch a chatbot about a week and a half before ChatGPT launched, and they realized how powerful ChatGPT was, and they're like, we can't come out with this chatbot that we have right now. With the resources between Meta, between Amazon, between Google, between Apple, between all these big tech companies, you know, they're going to be playing catch up this year, and they're going to push the OpenAIs of the world, the Anthropics of the world, et cetera, because they have the resources, which we if you know in this space, the 2 gold currencies in this space is data and computing power when you're trying to develop AI, language learning models, et cetera. And the companies that have the most data and the most computing power are the big tech companies that right now, they just didn't get first to market. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be fun to see the competition. Us as consumers, we should all be pushing for competition because it just pushes the tech and the user experience that much more because it's an efficient market.
We all win after that. With those people, when we talk about those type, you know, colossal businesses playing catch up, they will catch up.
No doubt about it.
It's like that movie Moneyball, you know, they come up with that innovative, you know, math, and then guess what? Well, people with the most money they're gonna catch up.
They're gonna catch up 100%, and they're gonna catch up either one or two ways: through their own research, through their own R&D, et cetera, or through acquisitions. And that's just how they work. They got the money to spend on the acquisition. They can speed it up, and they have the distribution at scale, right? Like when you look at Apple has billions of devices out there. What Apple's very, very good at is keeping people in the walled garden and privacy. One thing, and that's where I see Samsung doing, but even with Samsung with the Google integration into their generative AI into their phone, every time I put something in a chatbot or into something, it gets sent to the cloud. But when you're running language learning models down on the chip level on a device, it's more secure, right? So Apple's going to have a whole advantage to that, plus other developers, plus, you know, it's these guys are going to win. Like these big tech companies are going to win. We want the OpenAIs of the world, but we don't want just OpenAI be the leading, you know, person. We don't need one leader in this space because
we want options.
We want options. We need them to get pushed. And we need to have, you know, the choice as a consumer to decide where our dollars go. And that's going to drive, you know, where the innovation happens at.
I got one more question from How Have You Found Success? And then I want to shout you out for our event in March.
Yeah.
Are you open? He says, are you open to connecting on LinkedIn?
100%. I will, you know, actually, what's January, March, we have it on the calendar. We're actually going to get a lot more active on the LinkedIn. So yes, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. That is going to be a platform we're going to be growing here probably in about a month or so.
Right on. I appreciate all of this. And just remember to our audience, sign up for Content Hacker Live. So it's this March in Austin, Texas at contenthackerlive.com/event. So just contenthacker.com/event. And then, so it's right now, it's $197 for the virtual pass if you can't make it in real life. For the live in real life general admission, it's $397 right now. And then for the live in real life VIP pass, it's $797. And I do want to mention to our audience, these tickets are going to double sometime in mid-February. So we still got like another day of January. So, you know, purchase now if you want to get in for those prices. Again, they'll double in mid-February. You excited to speak there, man?
Man, I can't wait. I saw, I speak on a lot of stages, but, you know, I saw some of the people that you guys are bringing in. and gals, excuse me, not just guys. And I'm excited just to be in a room with some super smart people and get to enjoy the conversations. I go to a lot of events just from a networking standpoint as well. So I look forward to seeing, your audience there as well. It's going to be a great time. And I'm telling you, there's no better city than Austin as well to eat some good food and break some good bread as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
I've only been there once, and it was last March before South by. This time it's during South by.
It's a different beast than South by. South by it's a whole different energy there when South by's in town. It's fun times.
I love it, man. So and I'm glad we did this because I love hearing you talk, and I can tell you've been in the space longer than the rest of us been thinking about it at all. So I appreciate that. And
of course,
to our members here, who if you're a member of Content Hacker community right now, you do get 10% off. I do want to mention 10% off those prices that I just listed just now. So if you're a member of Content Hacker community, you can get that discount by clicking on, I believe it's on the sidebar inside the community. So community.contenthacker.com. There's like a sidebar option that says Content Hacker Live 2024. So get 10% off all those prices I just mentioned. If you're not a member of the community, you can go to contenthacker.com anytime and click on Become a Content Hacker, big purple button in the top right corner of contenthacker.com. Jordache, I appreciate it, and I'm excited to see you in March, man.
I look forward to it, man. I appreciate the opportunity. It's such a great time to chat with you, and we'll definitely have some fun here in Austin here in about a month and a half or so.
You got it. Hey, appreciate it. Have a good Tuesday.
You as well. Cheers.
Bye.